Welcome to 580 Sports Talk on a Wednesday afternoon following I don't even know what adjective to use, to be honest with you, a Royals win and a series win over the Miami Marlins. I'm Brendan. That's Dan. That's Spencer. It was a win. That is true.
That's enough. They don't ask you how. They ask you how many. And the Royals won, and as long as no one has any follow-up questions, that's going to be one of those, like your buddy or your dad or whoever missed the game, and they ask you, how'd the Royals come out today? They won 5-1.
Bobby had a triple, Salvi a big hit. Yeah.
Vinny drove in a run, Singer pitched well. Anything else I should know about the game? Yeah, we were all about ready to commit harakiri watching the Royals try to swing the bat for 7 2/3 innings.
Really stupid baseball.
It was
game.
A disgusting display until it abruptly wasn't in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Legitimately, though, until the 8th inning, when Huascar Brazoban came into the game, the Royals, I don't think, had a single good at bat. Even the 3 hits they had in the first 7 innings, I don't think a single one of them was a good at bat.
No, nobody hit a ball hard for nearly 8 full innings.
After nobody hit a ball hard all day yesterday.
Right. It was really, really grim until it was all of a sudden a laser show.
So we will recap the game in full. Plus, I am a little bit confused about some roster construction for Matt Quatraro. It's not the kind of thing that makes you say he's not the guy, but I'm just confused by some of the decisions he made today. So we'll get to that. We'll talk a little about Seth Lugo's unfortunately wasted great start from last night. That's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald is going to join us to talk all things K-State sports in today's Wildcat Wrap-up. Think we might talk a little bit about a Western Kansas tight end today. Think one Mr. Lincoln Cure is going to come up quite a bit when we talk to Fitz later on next hour. Plus, we'll find today's winner and what is wrong with you. NBA draft starts tonight. We'll look ahead to that. Where's Johnny Furphy going to go? Where's Kevin McCullough going to end up going? We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. All that, plus we'll take your texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. And we will, of course, get your comments on the YouTube stream as well. Head over to youtube.com and check out 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe while you are over there. You can check out the video stream as well, not just on the YouTube, but also on our Facebook page, which is Twitter, which is at 580 Sports Talk, and of course over at our website as well. That's 580wibw.com. We'll get to your text, we'll get to your YouTube comments, and we'll get to today's Royals win coming up next hour here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Welcome to 580 Sports Talk on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Across the table from me is Dan Lucero. On the other side of the glass is Spencer Dupuis. Here with you until 6 o'clock this afternoon following a Kansas City Royals win over the Miami Marlins. A series win for the boys in blue, and they needed it badly with the red-hot Cleveland Guardians coming to town for a 4-game set starting tomorrow. We'll recap the game. We'll get to last night's effort or lack thereof as well. I have a question, maybe a vague one, but a question for Matt Quattrero. That's coming up here in just a few. Also this hour, we've got What Is Wrong With You for the day, and we've got our Wildcat Wrap-up with Tim Fitzgerald, Wednesday staple. Fitz, of course, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. We want you to be a part of the show. You can find us on YouTube. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Make sure you subscribe to our channel while you're over there. It's free to do. You just click the button to subscribe. You can check out the live video stream today and leave us a comment. And of course, we want to hear from you on the Top City Metal Supply text line. That is 785-272-9429. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leave you with unnecessary leftovers. Top City Metal Supply will cut the exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel tailored to your project specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. And of course, today and every day, we are coming to you from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio high up on Huntoon Hill. Every win's a good win. There's no doubt about that. This wasn't a good game for the vast majority of it. The approach at the plate stunk. Brady Singer looked like $1 million out there today.
Yeah, slow start, but once he settled in and located better, I think from about the third inning on, I thought he was about as good as he's been all year. I still have the same question about Brady Singer that I've long had about Brady Singer. Is this guy the best bad pitcher in the American League, or is he the worst good pitcher in the American League?
Why don't we start with Brady before we start with the offense here? Because we have some folks in the YouTube comment section right now who are talking about, is it good? Do we need to see more of this? Is he bad? Just where Brady Singer is. Brady Singer is what he is at this point. And the good has been, for his whole career, really good. My problem, along with the fact that he doesn't diversify the arsenal enough, and I think these two things are tied together, is it's just so inconsistent. And there are too many zigzags between really good and promising and really bad. This guy is a future 8th inning relief pitcher. It reverberates way too often. And you should go out and dominate the Marlins, because the Marlins are very bad and they just don't have very many good players on their team. And yeah, he gave up 1 run, 3 hits in the first inning, only gave up 5 total. He was awesome in this game. Went 7 1/3 today. Really good stuff from him. It just is a matter of getting it more often. And I think the pitch mix is directly correlated to his long-term and, continuous success, consistent success. I would love to get more of what we saw today out of Brady Singer. It's just, for me personally, too far in between. Too few and too far in between when we get these kind of appearances.
So the run prevention with Singer on the mound has been really good, right? Christopher points out in the YouTube live chat, 10th time in 16 starts, Singer's allowed 1 earned run or less in at least 5 innings of work. The problem with Singer has always been the lack of efficiency, so that a lot of times 5 is all you're getting. If you go back to through his last 5 starts, he'd worked more than 6 innings precisely 0 times, and he'd worked into the 6th just twice. He had the 5-inning outing, the 5 and fly at Texas. He had the 5 and fly at Tampa Bay. He only allowed 3 runs and 2 earned, but he was out in 3 2/3 innings in that game against Cleveland. But he was coming off of the illness that cost him about 10 days. So don't want to hold that too much against him. But that's just a broader trend with Singer is he's not been a guy you can count on to go deep into a game. That's why today was such a welcome sight for Singer and for a Royals team that, as we've talked about at length, can't really lean on its bullpen to get them a lot of outs. Brady Singer made sure they only had to get 6. And we didn't know if any of those were going to be on the plus side,
5,
frankly.
Because he got...
That's right. Yeah,
he got the pitch clock strikeout in the 8th inning.
He did get the pitch clock strikeout.
So Marlins.
Nick Fortes in the 8th inning.
Real quick. No, Nick Fortes has no one to blame but himself for having a little temper tantrum and getting rung up on strikes.
Dude with a OPS plus this year, it was 18 coming into the series. Coming into tonight, it was 15. He gets one RBI hit. Now he thinks he's Barry Bonds. Now he thinks, oh, I'm getting a raw deal on the strike zone. I'm going to walk halfway to Raytown between pitches and expect not to get rung up on a pitch clock violation. That was nonsense. Anyway, 7 1/3 for Singer. So yeah, you only asked the bullpen to get 5 outs today. That's what you want from Singer. It can be frustrating with him because he has so few adjustments he can make because the pitch mix isn't very diverse, right? Like Seth Lugo's out there throwing like 3 different fastballs and 8 different pitches, and Cole Reagans has 4 or 5 pitches he can use, and he can lean on the stuff that works and junk the stuff that doesn't, and shake off early struggles to get better as an outing goes on. And it doesn't feel like Brady Singer can do that because he's only got fastball slider. Like the changeup has not stuck. Despite great effort from everybody involved, it has not stuck. It has not been something he's ever been really comfortable with long-term as a weapon. So if the fastball command isn't sharp and the slider command isn't sharp, you can kind of tell within like the first 20, 25 pitches what kind of outing it's going to be from Brady Singer. Like you just know whether it's going to be a good Brady Singer game or a not so good Brady Singer game. Today, though, it felt like it wasn't going to be a very good Brady Singer game through the first couple of innings. Like he gave up, I think, 5 hits in the first 3 frames. But
if he did that, he didn't give up another hit the rest of the way.
Yeah, he started moving the ball in and out better. He has to be on the corners. He has to be really fine because, again, he only throws 2 pitches. He's not varying his looks or the movement very much. The pitches he throws have to be in spots that are not easy to hit. He has to live on the black, the inside corner, the outside corner. He did that for the better part of this outing, and he did get better as the game went along. And this was a really good outing for Brady Singer, even adjusted for the relative quality of today's opponent. And it was what the Royals needed because goodness knows their offense couldn't get on track until the 8th inning. So they needed Brady Singer to be exactly this good, just have a prayer of winning this game and stealing this series.
I think, too, the importance of getting it into the latter part of the game and not making somebody like John Schreiber have to come in and pitch another day in the last couple of days. And when you get John Schreiber on back-to-back days, it's tough. I don't think he didn't pitch last night, but you want to stay off guys as much as possible. And him going into the 8th inning says, oh, we only have to get 5 outs from the bullpen and you're up by 4. I think he could do it. So they did it.
Yeah, not having to overextend, and overextension for the Royals bullpen is defined differently than for the average Major League bullpen, given their struggles this year. But not having to overextend for an extra game, that's really important because, again, we've seen, you want to talk about consistency problems with Brady Singer, we've seen plenty of consistency problems with this whole bullpen all year long.
Joe in the YouTube comments asks, I think this is in regard to Singer, about maybe moving him for different pitching. I don't think he's back next year. Joe, Brady Singer has 2 more years of team control under arbitration. I would be very surprised if he doesn't play out his arbitration years in Kansas City. Unless he were traded, and it's very rare you see, they used to call them challenge trades. Like, this is my useful established big league player for your useful established big league player at another position. You don't see trades like that very often anymore. Usually it's like established guy for like pocket of prospects. I would be very surprised if Brady Singer's wearing another uniform in the next 2 years because, as we talked about yesterday with regards to Reagans, cost-controlled starting pitching is gold. And if Brady Singer isn't an elite starter, and I think we can all agree that he is not that, he's also not like 2023 Jordan Lyles out there.
Yeah.
The established baseline production for Singer over the course of his career, a pitcher with number 3 starter upside, essentially. If it feels like a disappointing outcome for a guy like Singer because he was a first-round pick, I get that.
Yeah.
But even guys who have number 3 starter upside don't grow on trees. So this is a guy, particularly for a team in the financial situation that the Royals are, by which I mean a smaller market team, a team that's not going to spend like New York, like Los Angeles, like Boston typically does. This is a guy that you really value, that you don't have to, like, if Brady Singer hit the open market after this season, he'd get 15, 17 million a year. He absolutely would. And being under arbitration, the Royals will probably only have to pay him like $7-8 million. They're paying him $4.5 million this year. That's pretty darn good for mid to back end starting pitching.
There's something to be said too, because I think you could argue to that point. Yeah, well, we have, we have someone else who could fill in that spot. Like we could put Chris Bubic in the rotation. I know he has to come back from injury. I understand that, but we could put him in to fill that spot. We could trade Brady Singer for a bullpen arm or for an outfield bat, whatever it ends up being. Sure. A different pitcher of some sort, whatever. There is a lot of value in having depth for your pitching staff. Is it incredible depth? No, but it's like offensive line depth in football, like your depth for a reason. But to have any sort of starting pitching depth is really valuable, and not many teams have that. So to be able to say, look, there are frustrations that come with Brady Singer, and I've been as frustrated with him as anybody since he came up in 2020. But to know that you've got that guy, but you still have the option of, a healthy Daniel Lynch or moving Chris Bubic into the rotation. God forbid a healthy Jordan Lyles, if he had to spot start at some point, you put him in. I know he's unavailable right now, but you know what I mean.
Right.
That is really valuable to have. And especially when you get to the back 2 months of the season, post-deadline, suddenly, hypothetical trade of Brady Singer to go get one of your bullpen guys, right? We know they have to get a bullpen arm. Okay, you trade Singer to get a guy with 2 years available. One, bullpen arms are very volatile, the most volatile players on a baseball roster. Secondly, okay, what happens if Michael Wacha gets hurt again? What happens if Cole Reagans goes on the shelf for 3 weeks? Then all of a sudden, you go from, all right, we've got some options. It's not good, but we've got some options to, well, we have an option, and it better work. Daniel Lynch, you better be ready. Chris Bubic, I hope you are ready to get stretched out right away, or I hope we're ready for bullpen games, because if you don't have that depth, suddenly you don't have a whole lot of clarity if something goes wrong. And at least at this stage, as frustrating as he can be, you've got a reserve option. You've got a backup plan.
Yeah, I made the joke, about is he the best bad pitcher? Is he the worst good pitcher in the American League? And really the conversation about Singer is just that word exactly, frustrating. He can be very, very frustrating to watch pitch because it doesn't feel like he has a lot of counter punches, because you can usually tell whether it's going to be a good or a bad outing right off the rip. And what makes him frustrating too is that he is capable of the kind of performance that we just saw from him, that he can go out and he can pitch deep into a game and get a ton of ground balls and weak contact. And Miami never looked like scoring after the second inning. It never looked like they were going to put a threat together.
Never threatened.
And that's what it looks like when Brady Singer is going well. It looks easy almost because it's all weak contact. It's all ground balls. There's strikeouts. He's never walked a ton of guys. So there's a lot of strikes. He fills the strike zone. When it looks like this, you wish it could look like that all the time. And that's just not it for Brady Singer. This is the best of Brady Singer. We don't get to it as much as maybe you would like, but the fact that we get to this being the best of Brady Singer at all, it's a valuable piece to have on your 26-man roster. If your third starter is that good, I think there are a lot of teams, a lot of contending teams that would be happy to have Brady Singer taking the ball every 5 days as their third best starting pitcher.
Can I get to my curiosity with Matt Quattro's decision making?
Yeah, I'm there with you.
So yesterday, I hypothesized on the show that the reason why they are going to put Chris Bubic in the bullpen and they're going to stick with Alec Marsh and Brady Singer in the starting rotation is the fact that they have made a commitment, JJ Piccolo, as well as Matt Quattraro and the rest of the staff, they have made a commitment to not jerking guys around to different spots. The best example of that is MJ Melendez, and he's had his issues, but saying, look, we want you to figure it out, and we think the best way to do that is to stick you in left field. You're not going to play both corners. You're not going to catch very often. No, you're not going to catch ever. You're not going to play right. You are a left fielder now. We think that consistency is going to help you. They have done that with other players, too. I used the Bobby Witt example as well after he played plenty of third base early in his career. Other factors there like Adalberto Mondesi. That is the case. Matt Quattraro confirmed that that is something that the Royals are trying to do. Okay, justified. Then today, the lineup comes out, and it didn't end up really mattering in today's game. Nick Lofton is back in the starting lineup. CJ Alexander, congrats on your cup of coffee. We're good.
We're good. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm good.
Right, and that's so unfair because it's 2 big league games. But yeah, I'm out on CJ Alexander. He looks like a 40 grade like replacement level major league player. I don't need that getting at bats over even a struggling Nick Lofton.
Agreed. I agree with you. I like Lofton. I would rather let him work out of it. And he came up with a hit today in an RBI late.
Got out of a 3 for 38 with that 8th inning single.
So today, Lofton's back in the lineup at third base. Is Michael Garcia not playing? No. Michael Garcia was again at second base. Garcia played second yesterday because Michael Massey is back, or the last 2 days, because Massey is back, but he can't play the field yet. He's still getting his back fully healthy, so he can hit, theoretically. He came in and struck out today, but he can't field as of yet. Why would you leave Garcia at second and put Lofton at third when Lofton has played mostly second base and Garcia, until this week, had played only third base all year? I don't understand that. That's not jerking guys back and forth. Garcia's a third baseman. At this point, he is a third baseman. Lofton is a middle infielder and, frankly, a second baseman. And you put him at first in a pinch if you need to.
Do you want the quote from Quatrero? I have it in front of me.
I do.
Ann Rogers of MLB.com transcribed it. So asked the question about why is Lofton at third and Lopez staying at second base. We're in an interesting spot with Frazier on the IL and Massey not playing defense. So the way I look at it is let's try to be as stable as we can. Michael is a really good infielder. He's got excellent range. Lofton has played plenty of third. When CJ's playing, he's played lots of third. So instead of constantly moving people back and forth, give some guys some stability and some comfort and put what we consider to be a really strong infield out there. This makes a little more sense if Michael Massey's not going to pick up a glove and play the field in a game for like a couple of weeks than it does if Massey's going to be playing second base by like Sunday. If that's the case, I will retract some of the criticism here, but not only has Michael Garcia settled in, found a home at third base, he's played it really, really well.
Really well.
And I don't think you take him out of a comfort zone so you can give CJ Alexander at bats. Like I don't think you're so desperate to get a 27-year-old who's had one half a good season at AAA a bunch of major league at bats all of a sudden. And you can argue it cost the Royals last night's game because Garcia made an error on that play in the 7th inning. That's not a play he's used to making. That's not an angle he's used to throwing from. In a spot like that, he made a bad throw and the inning blew up and the Royals end up losing 2-1 because Garcia's playing out of position. I don't know if Lofton gets to that ball, but I know he knows how to make that play, and that's not a play Garcia's comfortable with.
I have an interesting comparison here, but it's kind of hard to compare these two guys. Hitting at AAA is totally different than hitting in the majors.
Correct.
We saw one of the MLB's top prospects, Jackson Holliday, tear the cover off the ball at AAA, get called up to Baltimore, and it took him like 30 at bats to get a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And you see with CJ Alexander, he's hitting the cover off the ball at AAA, and he couldn't buy a hit in his first 2 games.
I think, too, to go to the fielding point that you made, Dan, very reminiscent of that game earlier in the season when Garrett Hampson played third base. Remember that game?
Oh yeah.
He had played like 6 innings or 6 games at third base in his entire major league career, which is many years long at this point. And lo and behold, he commits an error in the field.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, that was a fairly close game. You get what you pay for there. I would personally, and just a difference of opinion here and a difference of philosophy, I guess, between me and the Royals brass. I would consider stability to be you put the guys where they play more often than not or almost always. Like, I'm not worried about moving Garcia to second for 1 game in a pinch and then moving him back. I would not consider that having guys going back and forth. To me, that's, well, you're going to play 4 games at third and then 4 games at second, and we're going to put you at short for a game and then back to third. It's a pinch. It's 2 games.
And some guys can handle that. There are some guys that are have glove, will travel sort of players who are used to that life. Mm-hmm. Many of them are not very good hitters. They're just there to plug, you put a finger in the dike and plug a spot on a day-to-day basis. Like Willie Bloomquist was like that. Uh-huh. Really, Bloomquist also did that for a lot of really bad teams. Like typically those guys play for bad teams and they're playing different positions every day. Garrett Hampson's been on a lot of bad teams where he's had to do that and be that every day. So I don't like doing that with a guy like Garcia, who's been giving you excellent defense at third base. And the other thing it does for Garcia, it puts something extra on his plate while he's trying to hit his way out of a slump. He hasn't hit a lick for 3 weeks, and you're putting something else on his plate in addition to, well, I'm already crossways. I'm at 3s and 7s at home plate, having enough trouble trying to get on base. And now I got to play a different position tonight. Like, I think this is a wrong move. I think this is a missed judgment call by Matt Quatraro. I think he's done a really good job handling things for the better part of this season. I don't think this is the right decision.
And it might feel like a little thing, but let's be frank. One of the things the Royals have been the worst with recently during this recent skid is the little things. It's running into outs. It's making errors. They showed a graphic on Bally during the game today. Through the first 54 games, 58 games, something like that during the season, the Royals had the third fewest errors in all of baseball. In the last 23 games or whatever the number was, they have the second most errors in baseball. Almost as many errors in the last 20 as they had in the first almost 60 games. The little things have made a big difference for the Royals. And when you are struggling in other places, like offensively as a whole, winning on the margins becomes that much more important. So those little things, I think, get magnified when you're in a stretch like this. We've got some more thoughts on the Royals, both this series and a look ahead to the Guardians series coming up in the 5 o'clock hour today. We owe you a commercial break. We'll come back with what is wrong with you. Then we'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio, it's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. The T-Bone Bomber is our winner so far this week. Gentleman who called in a fake bomb threat at a Publix in Florida to try to distract people while he stole a bunch of meat. Got away with it, and then was pulled over for a traffic stop, and that is when he was caught with the meat theft and the fake bomb threat. So that's our current weekly winner. Spencer, what do you have for us today?
We're going to take you to Lebanon, Missouri.
Okay.
Laclede County, I believe is how you say it.
I don't know if it's Lebanon, Missouri, or if it's Lebanon, Missouri. I know it's Lebanon, Indiana. I know they're very particular about that in Indiana. I do not know how our brethren in Missouri pronounce that particular town name.
What about Laclede? Laclede?
Laclede's fine.
Laclede County.
Let's do Laclede.
Yeah. Laclede County deputies arrested a woman accused of spiking her husband's Mountain Dew with Roundup.
Whoa!
Good Lord.
Michelle Y. Peters, 47, faces charges of first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action. A judge ordered no bond for Peters. They were talking to this lady, Jackie Sprout, who owns a gaming shop next door to the spa operated by Michelle Peters just outside of Lebanon. Wow, that's all I could say. I just found out that she's working next door to me, but it doesn't make a difference. I was just really surprised, she said. The deputies arrested Peters Monday. Investigators say she added the Roundup to her husband's Mountain Dew on several occasions during May and June. They say she also spiked the drink with an insecticide. Quote, "It is a different type of domestic assault," the sheriff, David Millsap, said. Investigators say he began to suspect something was wrong with his drink after feeling ill. The victim provided surveillance video to investigators that indicated Peters was tampering with the Mountain Dew in the garage refrigerator. The victim told authorities he was the only one in the home who drank the Mountain Dew kept in that refrigerator. Sheriff Millsap says while it's uncommon, domestic violence against men does happen. Quote, "In domestic situations, we found that 85% of domestic assault victims are females, not males, but it's underreported usually with males when it comes to domestic assaults," he said. A situation Sprout says he knows all too well. A lot of friends who are male have been in domestic violence situations. It's very important to know that it's okay to seek help. It's not the best thing to be the tough guy all the time, she said. Sheriff Millsap says Peters finally admitted to putting the weed killer in her husband's drink and says she was mad because he didn't appreciate the 50th birthday party she threw for him.
Ooh, that's tough.
Okay, so this should not be domestic assault. This should be attempted murder.
Yeah, no joke.
You are not supposed to ingest Roundup. I know that. I don't know much. I know that.
Yeah, if it kills plants, it's probably not supposed to go in your gut.
Holy cow. That is horrible.
She has entered a plea of not guilty and is scheduled to be back in court next week. And it is allowed on What Is Wrong With You because the husband did survive.
Thankfully. Good Lord. That is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. My story involves car theft today. According to 7 News Miami, a Florida man managed to steal a Mercedes Maybach GLS 600 and a Rolls-Royce Cullinan by simply changing the delivery address for the 2 cars. Allegedly, all it took was just a little dab of hacking. So instead of stealing directly from the dealership, the thief reportedly hacked into the driver's portal for Dealer's Choice Auto Transport Service. The criminal actually hacked into the portal and knew what vehicles were being transported. They knew what was going on. Employee Steven Yariv told 7 News. The thief happened to reach out to the driver, acting as if he was the receiving party, and gave him all the right information, told him where the car is supposed to go. While delivering the car, the driver took photos of it and managed to capture the alleged thief in one of them, but so far, no one's been able to identify the man. Though it does appear this was not his first rodeo, after texting, quote, "You stole from the wrong guy," to the number the thief used, the thief replied, quote, "That's what the guy with the Cullinan said as well. Thanks for the free Maybach, dog." Then he taunted the driver or the delivery company again, saying, quote, "Bro, car already in Dubai or Europe, you guess," and sent a photo showing the GPS tracker had been removed. As for the Cullinan that he mentioned, that was reportedly headed to Limited Spec Automotive, but never showed up. Employee Steven Weissman told 7 News, the driver received a text message from a random phone number. I have that phone number. He received a text saying, hey, you have my Cullinan, please deliver to this address, and then gave a random parking lot in Miami. Police are already investigating, but the cars, if they are already out of the country, likely are not going to be recovered. However, if you have information, both employees are offering $20,000 for rewards of the stolen cars. Thanks for the Maybach, dog.
Yeah. How does that even how does somebody know how to hack into that?
I would.
Got me.
I don't know.
Not a skill I have.
Also, apparently, this has something to do with cars. Did you know like a bunch of car dealerships systems are down because they were hacked?
I did not know that.
Huh.
Yeah, I keep seeing this like circulating on TikTok.
I'm glad I don't need to buy a car right now. All right, we have to get to a commercial real quick. Your vote, Dan.
The woman put Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that's messed up. That's horrible. I'm going to go with the T-Bone Bomber for the week, though, because I hate that story. Like, it's a great What Is Wrong With You, but it makes me so mad.
Spencer, I'm going to make you pick. That woman put Roundup in soda.
Roundup and soda, I think.
All right, Soda Roundup. That's our new winner for the week. And What Is Wrong With You? Tim Fitzgerald's up next on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us now on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. His name is Tim Fitzgerald. You can find him on Twitter at LifeOfFitz. And, of course, you can find all of his great written content at GoPowerCat.com. And make sure you subscribe to the GoPowerCat YouTube channel for all of their great video content as well. Fitz, we saw you had some great news earlier this week. Congratulations, my friend.
I sure did. It was tremendous news. I have moved for the second time in my journey that started in 2018. I moved from treatment to observation, which means you do run a lot of tests. And I went through that for about, it was 3 years because I was considered in remission. Then within a month of that, it came, back. And so I'm being a little more cautious this time, but pretty damn good news because that means these meds that have really taken a toll on me through the last, year and a half, I'll be free of those during football and basketball season this year.
Oh, well, that's fantastic, Fitz. We're so happy for you. We're so happy about this news and obviously keeping you in our thoughts. You also got to celebrate with Joe's in Kansas City the other day, which I was just very jealous of.
Yeah, Joe was really nice. He gave me burn-ins at a special price. They said it was a daily special, but I know it's for me. And then we got too many onion rings by accident, which was wonderful. And then we came home. It was a great day. It really was. It was totally unexpected. I was going to ask her about the chances of it, and she came in and just said, "You know what? You're doing so well. I was supposed to have an injection on the Monday too," and she said, "We're not doing the injection. You're off your meds. You're off your treatment."
Well, that's just awesome.
Yep.
Well, we're very happy to hear it, Fitz. That is phenomenal news. We do have some K-State to get to today. Big visit this past weekend. What's your favorite part of Goodland, Kansas?
They used to have a steak and shake.
Oh.
Which was really wild.
Do they not anymore?
I'm told it didn't really recover from the pandemic and it disappeared.
So,
but yeah.
When I lived out in Colby, and worked for a couple of stations in Colby, Goodland, I always looked forward to the trips to Goodland because I would inevitably go by and get a Nutella shake from Steak and Shake. Our Steak and Shake's gone too here in Topeka. It's crushing.
Tough times, apparently.
Is it the steak or the shake that's the problem? I feel like the shake's good. I feel like, aren't they hamburgers?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they've been lying, and people have caught them on that. I can't go in and order a filet. You give me a burger.
Need some more accurate advertising. The Goodland product, the reason we're talking about Goodland, Kansas here, Lincoln Cure, he was on campus at K-State this weekend, and man, K-State football pulled out all the stops. Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards were with him. They went to Colbert Hills. They were taking sick photos in the all-white jerseys and uniforms. They were taking late-night pictures at the Bill. I mean, we've seen quotes from 24/7 Fitz that he loved the visit. Is everything you've heard pretty glowingly positive from Cure's camp as well?
Yeah, I still believe you'll pick K-State, but Oregon and A&M really did the same thing. They really showed him something and pushed it and made K-State work for it. But he's kind of indicating now he might do it sooner or later because I think at the end of it came, he got pretty sick of the process. I mean, someone was FaceTiming him when he was in Manhattan, and same thing happened to Eugene. Someone FaceTimed him, and just being intrusive when you should be respecting his time with other schools is a little annoying.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Fitz joins us weekly at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline on 580 Sports Talk. You can find Fitz and his staff's work at GoPowerCat.com. Check him out on Twitter as well, at Life of Fitz. Broadly speaking, Fitz, do you think that Kansas State has had a good cycle with local players, local football recruits, a negative cycle, or kind of just what would be expected or hoped for in terms of success, not just recruiting being in the mix, but also attracting those talents to Manhattan?
Yeah, Kansas is getting a lot more recruiting attention now. I mean, you got players coming into Alabama and Penn State, and I think people have caught on that Kansas produces some dudes. And Lincoln, being the highest rated dude to come out of the state ever in terms of football, certainly fills that bill. So to get him and Avery in back-to-back classes, I think is pretty significant. I think this class there's some talent there, but we'll see what they wrap up. Let's put it that way. Let's see how they end up. But there's a lot of competition in the state, and do some of the players in the state this year fit what their needs are? We know Lincoln Cure does because they love to throw the ball to the tight end in this offense, and certainly Babalola, the big tackle, would fit the need, but he decided to cut K-State out, which literally shocked everyone. I mean, all of us who have been following that, including, I think, his head coach, were stunned to see that because K-State's been in his top 3 and all of a sudden it's not in his top 9. So that is what it is. Those things happen, and we'll see how it all ends up. But it's a pretty good year in the state of Kansas, but do those players fit the needs of K-State? Honestly, Ryan Wallace from my staff is probably the better one to answer that.
Given, and this may be another Ryan Wallace question, but I want to get your perspective on it as well. Given the fact that Kansas is more competitive now in state, what ways does Kansas State maybe have to change, or what ways are they maybe already changing the way that they approach in-state players?
Well, there was a day when you could just kind of hold on and get some pretty good players to walk on. But those players have been going to Kansas, players that are legit. This is both developmental programs, and you might have to develop them, but they can play. And I don't think you're getting as many, I don't want to call free, but you're not sneaking so many guys in as walk-ons, with in-state tuition that you were used to be able to. And then if they earned a scholarship, like B.J. Finney, the dude was a walk-on. He started 4 straight seasons. So he was on scholarship pretty quickly. But, Jordy Nelson is the, glaring example of the walk-on program. I'm just going to say this. In the current environment of recruiting, that would never happen. I mean, people have now gotten a little more savvy looking at track times and other sports and realize that this dude's pretty special. The fact that K-State could get him as a walk-on, it turned him to be an 11-year NFL, starter at receivers, is pretty miraculous. So I think that's what's changed. K-State's always taken the state very seriously. It's always been a core of the locker room. And I think the entire football culture at Kansas State is built around the fact that about a third of the roster are indeed Kansas kids.
Fitz, you mentioned that Kansas is trying to, the school is trying to, put a little more emphasis on the state as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's a more difficult thing for K-State because, hey, wow, they're not we can't just walk all over them anymore and get whoever we want in state. But do you think, and maybe this is not the right way to spin it, but is that in a way a positive because it then makes K-State, Coach Kleiman, the rest of the staff adapt and not just do the same thing that the program has always done? And it's, hey, we do have to stay with the times. We do have to adapt and stay on the cutting edge to keep that dominance in the state.
Yeah, I mean, there's some players that you got to work a little harder on. I don't mean this to be rude, but I think the Cure to KU visit was a courtesy visit.
No doubt.
His brother's still in there.
No doubt about that.
He's never really they've never been a player seriously for that. But he has great respect for the state of Kansas. He loves the state of Kansas, so he's not going to disrespect KU in the process of recruiting just by saying, I have no interest. You gave him a shot. But yeah, it does make it a little bit better. I think you can go round and round about the reasons why previous coaches kind of crashed to earth at KU. But I would say a major factor was guys like Charlie Weiss and David Beatty didn't appreciate how important it is to have that Kansas, kind of structure around your locker room, that thread that runs through it, a commonality with home state kids playing for their home school and why it means more to them. I think they misjudged that, and Lance Leipold gets it. And certainly Chris Kleiman gets it. He came from a program where they had a lot of North Dakota kids. So, I think it's very important for your locker room to have a lot of players with skin in the game, not just for themselves, but for growing up amidst this rivalry and how important it is to the state.
We're joined by Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Fitz, yesterday the Division I Council introduced a proposal to change the transfer portal windows in football and basketball, moving from 45 to 30 days. A vote's going to be expected in October. How is this going to impact how Kansas State and the broader, just how it will impact overall with the portal window for players to enter getting shorter?
The NCAA's got to be careful because, you keep clamping down on these freedoms the courts have given players. The courts might revisit this. I'm sure coaches wouldn't mind having a more narrow portal when kids have the ability to enter. I get that. But, some kids want to wait a little bit to make the decision, and giving them just 1 month makes it a little precarious. I mean, there'll be even more jumping. I think the number will still be the same, guys. In general, I think the same number will jump into the portal. It'll just be a little more hectic instead of spread out. So it's an interesting move. I don't quite understand why they felt the need to do it.
Fitz, today on Big 12 Insiders over at Go Power Cat, you and your guy Brian Henley were talking about the coaches in the Big 12, and man, there are some really good ones, including a couple really good ones coming in. Most notably Kyle Whittingham, who I think might be a top 5 coach in the country. I think he's a superstar of a coach. joining the league this year. Earlier this week, we were talking quarterbacks on the show because this is a really good quarterback league as well going into 2024. Which group is deeper, Big 12 coaches or Big 12 quarterbacks?
I think this season I'd say quarterbacks, and that includes the concept that we had Neil Brown at number 10 on our list, and I think Neil Brown's a really good coach. But then I started looking at the people above him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not moving them up over any of these people. I mean, it's really deep, but man, the quarterback position is so deep in this conference, in part because the newcomers are bringing some dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got quarterbacks at Colorado, Utah, and Arizona that every one of them can make the argument they're the best in the conference. And you've got some really good quarterbacks returning and a new one in Avery Johnson, and you've got some really interesting portal quarterbacks at both UCF and Baylor. I mean, we don't know how those guys are going to play. They could end up being way up the list. Quarterback play is going to be outstanding in this conference. If Jalen Daniels is healthy, he might be the best quarterback. It's just crazy how good quarterback play is going to be. And I think the fact that so many good quarterbacks are here in this conference, and I'm going to be really honest, this isn't a shot, but the fact that Will Howard had to leave K-State and ended up at Ohio State pretty much signifies how good quarterback play is in this conference. That a dude like that doesn't feel like he's going to start over a guy that'll be a sophomore next year. So it's really remarkable how good the quarterbacks are, and it's going to be so much fun for fans to watch.
That week 3 game, it's a non-conference tilt for K-State against Arizona, and it's a Friday, which pisses me off, but that's a story for a different day that we've talked about many other times, Fitz. But it's, I guess, a positive for the Big 12 race that, you can afford to lose to Arizona and Noah Fafita, who's a stud, and it doesn't hurt you in the Big 12 race. But at the same time, you almost wish there was a little skin in the game, right? Because that's a matchup of maybe arguably the two quarterbacks in this league in Avery Johnson and Noah Fafita, who might have the two highest ceilings of any quarterback in this league.
You're right. I mean, two young guys that can just flat out play. Fox with their new Fox Friday branding just jumped on that. That is going to be a headline of two young, incredible quarterbacks. It's going to be an awful important game to kind of both those players and teams to establish themselves, even though it's a non-con game. I just did a podcast with some Arizona guys that's really interesting. I just feel there's some kind of connections between Arizona and K-State that go beyond the Wildcat logo, and I just feel some similarities in the institutions. And I think this could be something that warms up, particularly from the fact that this looks like it'll be a 4-year stretch of them playing each other because this is a non-conference home and home, and then they'll go into conference play against each other. And that's a pretty good way, if you have really good games, to develop a little mini rivalry.
All right, last thing I've got for you, Fitz. I mentioned it a little bit earlier ago when we were talking about Lincoln Cure. Yay or nay on the all-white uniforms?
Oh, I'm so yay on it. I love that uniform a lot. Yeah, they've lost, and I'm just sick of hearing it. I want them to wear it for Tennessee Martin. You're playing a game in August in Kansas. Wear your whites. Make it as easy on your team as possible. Make your opponent wear the dark color. And in the process, we're going to find out if there really is a curse on the white uniforms and any alternates, they'll lose that game. And if they win that game, everyone can shut up about it. I'm just a believer that you got to make it more common. I don't want every week to be a circus uniform, but I think 2-3 games out of the year should be pre-designated. You're going to wear all white. You're going to wear the white pants with a purple jersey and maybe a purple helmet. You can just mix it up, and you don't have to get all crazy with different designs. Just mix up your colors, your helmets, your pants, and jerseys, and off you go. I'd like to see lavender, but that just ain't going to happen in football, and that's a whole nother argument.
Tim Fitzgerald's work can be found at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Make sure you're following GoPowerCat on YouTube as well, and follow Fitz on Twitter at LifeOfFitz. He joins us every Wednesday for the Wildcat Wrap-up. As always, Fitz, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, boys.
That is the one and only Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. We've got 1 hour left of 580 Sports Talk, and it's coming up after the news here on 580 WIBW, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Hey now, it's the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this shortened Wednesday edition of the show. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Dan Lucero. That is Spencer Dupuis. Thanks so much for joining us following a Royals win earlier today. 5-1. I thought that game was going to end 1-0 in approximately an hour and 45 minutes. It was going.
I was with you too.
Oh my God, it was going so quickly. That's 2 weeks in a row that the weekday game, the literal day game in the middle of the week, has gone so quickly for 7 innings and then totally hit the skids and slowed down to normal game length in the 8th and 9th innings. That's certainly what happened today. But the Royals come away with the win. They win the series against the Miami Marlins. Hopefully some positive momentum heading into a big 4-game weekend set against the Cleveland Guardians. We will break that series down and we'll get our final thoughts on the Marlins series coming up later on this hour. Also in this hour, we will look ahead to the NBA draft, which is coming up tonight. Where will Johnny Furphy go? What will the rest of the first round look like? And we'll get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines as well. Plus, your texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429, and your comments on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube stream as well. Of course, we are coming to you live today, as we do every day, from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio.
I don't think the Royals like when I watch games at home.
Because as soon as you got in your car to come to work, they turned it on?
Yeah, I left. It was 1-0. We were hitting the bottom of the 8th, and I was like, I got to get coming back to work because this game could be over in 12 minutes at this pace. So I jumped in the car, and I was just jamming into some music coming back, and I get here, and you guys are talking in your office. You and Dan are talking about the scoring, and I'm like, what?
What do you mean scoring? Team didn't look like you could. The team didn't look like they could score if you locked them inside Kauffman Stadium with a bag of balls and a tee.
I do the math. Whenever we have a weekday daytime game, I do the math every half inning to see when we're tracking for the game to be over, because we got to prepare for the show, got to get everything all set up and whatnot. And after the first inning, we were on track. It was like a 35-minute inning. And I thought, holy cow, between the top and bottom of the first, oh my gosh, we're going to need to maybe tell Fitz we got to go out an hour late or something. This is going to take forever. Then the next 4 innings took something like 40 minutes. I mean, they went by in a flash, and I thought, okay, never mind. We're going to be on extra early. I have a lot of extra preparation to do now for the show. Thanks, Royals. But then, hey, it worked out perfectly.
We were going to do an NBA mock draft.
Yeah.
I was going to have to learn who Alex Sarr is. And whether or not he can dribble or shoot a basketball.
We were going to get Spencer's full scouting report on Mattis Buzelis.
Who?
Exactly. You were going to tell us who if we had gone on half an hour earlier than we thought.
Yeah.
We will talk some NBA draft, though, coming up in a little bit. Right now, we're going to get started in this 5 o'clock hour with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Some news from the NFL today. Jeff Darlington, who is pretty tied in. He's covered the NFL for a long time. He went on NFL Live on ESPN this week and was asked, because he has covered the Florida teams and specifically the Dolphins for a long time. He's based in Miami, and said that there's maybe not a whole lot of optimism right now, at least relative to what he previously thought about Tua Tagovailoa getting a market value contract. Darlington reported the Dolphins are not at the moment willing to offer Tagovailoa a contract similar to what Jared Goff got from the Lions or what Trevor Lawrence recently signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quote, right now, the Dolphins are not offering the contract that is market value. We're not to a panic point yet. I just think my optimism earlier has to be slightly scaled back at this point. Based on my conversations, they are not in the Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence ballpark. He went on to say, I've been long optimistic about Tua Tagovailoa getting this deal done. I'm not saying it won't get done because these things generally happen, but right now there's 5 words that are looming over this contract negotiation. They're the 5 words that came out of Tua's mouth. The market is the market. Yes, that was Tua, not Mike Tomlin. That quote came from mandatory minicamp when Tagovailoa was asked about, hey, you're here, you're on the last year of your contract, it's your club option year. Everybody knows that's getting worked on. What's going on? What are you looking for? And Tua said, I'll tell you one thing. The market is the market. If we didn't have a market, then none of that would matter. It would just be an organizational thing. It didn't matter if that guy got paid that because it's up to the organization. That's what I would say. The market is the market. That's it. Darlington's right that things happen and teams and players and agents especially will negotiate through the media. We have seen that with the Chiefs how many times? With our guy Nate Taylor from The Athletic and Chris Jones's camp and the Chiefs last year, right? That was every single day there was some news about that was being negotiated through the media. So there's something to that, but by the same token, the line in the sand has been drawn. And I'm not even worried about the Goff contract because he's on contract number 3 now. He got his 3rd career contract from the Lions. Trevor was taken 1 year after Tua. He was the 21 class. Tua was in 2020 along with Herbert, who's gotten paid, Burrow, who's gotten paid, Jalen Hurts, who's gotten paid, Jordan Love, who is about to get paid. And Jordan Love is different because he started for precisely 1 year and 1 game. So that's a little bit different case, but he's about to get paid. Darlington added he thinks Love is going to get his contract before Tua does. So the line in the sand is there. The market value is what Trevor Lawrence just got, or it's about to be what Jordan Love gets. And that's going to be a fascinating contract in and of itself. Whatever you think about Tua and about the Dolphins, and we've talked about them a lot, especially this week, the player is always going to say, this is the production I have put up. And outside of a championship, Tua has produced a lot. Last year, did you know he led the NFL in passing yards last year?
Yeah.
Led the NFL in yards. He was 6th in touchdowns. He was 5th, I believe, in passer rating. He was 4th in EPA. So it's the football card stats, the trading card stats, and the advanced stats.
Well,
he's been really good.
1/3 of his yards, I feel like, or 2/3 of his yards went to Tyreek, right?
A lot of them. Like a historic percentage of his yards last year went to Tyreek Hill. Because Tyreek was on pace to almost go for 2,000 last season. It's look, if they don't want to pay him Trevor Lawrence money, fine, that's their prerogative. But the way the NFL is structured, if you're not paying him that money, he's going to be a free agent and you're going to lose it.
Somebody's going to pay him that money, right?
Yes.
Because he is very definitely above the line of quarterbacks that you can't afford to have a worse one than if you want to be a good team. Like, he's comfortably above what we used to call the Carr line or the Dalton line, right? Yep. Now, I don't know how much farther he is above that line. I think it is entirely fair if the thought from the Tagovailoa camp is I should get Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence money. What the Dolphins can say is, well, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl and 2 conference championship games, and Trevor Lawrence has won a playoff game, and you haven't done either of those things. And you have a documented concussion history that these other guys do not have. That is a genuine long-term concern about Tua Tagovailoa. But he is absolutely, again, above that line of quarterbacks that you can't afford to be worse than. Dak Prescott, same kind of player. Like, you can't be worse than that at quarterback and expect to be a contending team in the league. So that's what the Dolphins are going to have to decide. I don't think they can afford to be worse than Tua Tagovailoa. But if they don't think they can give him Goff money or Lawrence money, which, again, I think you can argue that that's an understandable perspective, then what they need to do is they need to start taking some phone calls. Or really, they need to be proactive. They need to get out there and they need to make it very clear that Tua Tagovailoa is for sale. What I'm saying is they're going to have to huck Tua.
I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to call the police on you for doing that. All that's like a Norm bit. I'm so mad at you.
I'm really proud of that one.
I'm so mad. Your point before the punchline is correct. Because if you don't, you know what happens? You end up in the position the Cowboys are in. In fact, the Cowboys and the Dolphins are essentially in the same position with both quarterbacks in the final year of their deal. I did have someone tell me today regarding Tua, the Dolphins should wait. They should wait until next year because depending on how this year goes, they might gain leverage. Yeah, but you could also not.
Right. And because what if he gets another concussion?
Well, what if he gets another concussion? And what if he's awesome? What if he leads the league in yards again? Then it's price the brick went up, pal.
Yep.
The other thing, I like Tua. I am pro Tua. Dak is probably a better quarterback than Tua. At the very least, they're at the same level. If the Cowboys don't get a deal done with Dak this year, he's going to make $60 million next year. Like, you might not think he's worth it, but that is what the market is going to dictate for a player of his age, of that caliber. And if you don't sign Tua now and Dak gets paid first, you're going to have to pay Tua $61 million a year. That is what the market setting value is going to be. So if you don't get it done now, you're screwed if you're Miami. So you're in a position where even if you are more bearish on him than I am, you're going to have to pay him that money. And you do not want to have to pay him $7 million more per year or whatever than you're going to have to pay him now. It's not really a matter of worth. It's just a matter of, are you willing to take the risk that you'll get a worse quarterback? That's the question. It's not, is he worth it? It's, should we take the risk that we end up with a worse QB? And if the answer is yes, we'll take that risk, trade him.
If you're trying to win a championship, though, I don't think you can take that risk.
Right. I agree. I agree completely. Tough spot to be in.
Yeah, it is. It's that second, or really that third tier of quarterback is really, that is a hard place to find yourself as an organization.
Yeah, I think tier 3, because frankly, tier 1 is one player.
Because that's where the Cowboys have been for a decade and a half now with Romo and Prescott. That's
almost 20 years.
Yeah, that's where they lived.
What was Romo's first year? 2006 as a starter?
Yeah, I think so.
Was that the fumbled snap year?
Yes, that was the fumbled snap against Seattle. Yes.
That's almost 20 years of the exact same team.
Thanks for reminding me of that. That was a fun time.
What a moment. Like, that team has won 10 to 12 games almost every year. They sell a ton of tickets. They're on primetime all the time. They've had two great quarterback play, and they've never won a damn thing meaningful, like beyond regular season games. That's what you're trying to get past, but you can't afford to risk being worse than that. It's a tough spot to be in. I think he'll get paid, and I think he'll get a contract similar to Trevor Lawrence eventually. I don't think the Dolphins have an option.
Yeah, I think they're kind of stuck too. They will pay him. I just don't quite know how much.
I'm ready for that Jordan Love contract to come in. Like, let's get that over with. Let's get that done and move on.
Just to let you know, I have cut that audio.
Great. That's going in the best of folder.
Yeah, that's a
maybe worse stuff. I'm so mad at you.
Man, when I tell you my eyes lit up when I realized I could make that reference during that segment.
Was it mid-riff that you thought of that, or were you prepared for it from the beginning?
I was planning it from the start of the segment.
Just get on with the headline.
Next headline. No puns here, I promise. The TBT, the basketball tournament.
Yes!
It is one of the great events now in the state of Kansas because Wichita hosts every year, and people really turn out to go see the games at Charles Koch Arena. It's probably the best of the host sites for the TBT, the annual basketball tournament that brings together 64 teams playing for $1 million cash prize. Wichita will once again be a host of an 8-team regional July 20th through the 24th. Also participating in Wichita, in addition to the host team, the Wichita State alumni team known as the Aftershocks, a new team also based out of Wichita called Midtown Prestige, the K-State alumni team, Purple Rain, the KU alumni team, Mass Street, Florida TNT, the LA Cheaters, a team of Drew League All-Stars, and alumni teams from the University of Colorado, Team Colorado, and Colorado State University, Ram Up. The matchups, in fact, have already been set. The first round games on July 20th. The Aftershocks will play Midtown Prestige. Purple Rain will play Team Colorado. And Mass Street will play Ram Up. That's, the Colorado State alumni team. We do know who will be representing Purple Rain, the Kansas State alumni team. Jacob Pullen is the boldface name on the roster, though I believe he committed last year and eventually had to back out, which was really a bummer. But Jacob Pullen has once again committed to give it a run with Purple Rain this year. He will be joined on the roster by ex-K-State Wildcats Cartier Jada, Justin Edwards, Deshaun Gordon, Stephen Hurt, Bebe Iziola, Xavier Sneed, and Kamau Stokes. That list of names is such a journey.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
The team also includes former Oklahoma State Cowboy Yor Anay and former Tennessee State standout Delano Spencer. That's filling out the roster. Jordan Henriquez-Roberts, former K-State Wildcat, is the organizer and head coach. Curtis Kelly and Clint Stewart also on the staff for Purple Rain.
Yorane is from Overland Park, isn't he?
That might be right. I want to say yes.
I think he is from Overland Park originally, which makes some sense.
Among the players who've committed to play for Mass Street this year include former Jayhawks Ben McLemore.
He actually is not playing.
Oh, he's out?
He is dealing with a legal matter.
Oh,
and
okay. They need to pull him off the roster.
Yes, that was confirmed to Henry Greenstein of the Lawrence Journal World. He will not be participating.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Thank you for jogging my memory on that. But some others who have reportedly committed include Dedrick Lawson, Frank Mason, Jamari Traylor, Kevin Young, LeGerald Vick, Malik Newman, Mario Little, Thomas Robinson, and Silvio De Sosa.
Yeah.
I think others can still commit. There's a deadline, I think, in a week or two.
Right. That's not a finalized roster by any means. You always have guys who join the team and can't make the commitment for whatever reason. But that's a preliminary list of possible participants for Mass Street. The aftershocks will include such former Wichita State Shockers as Darrell Willis Jr., Connor Frankamp, Rashard Kelly, Marcus McDuffie, and Trey Wade.
For the KU and K-State alumni teams, they have made the very important step this year of adding guys who played more recently. Like last year, it was a lot of fun watching the team last year. Dedrick Lawson wasn't that long ago for KU. Dedrick is also not exactly an elite athlete. Like Frank Mason has been like a EuroLeague all-star. Like he's been good in Europe. And he was the G League Player of the Year a couple years ago. Like Malik Newman is still playing. Vic played on last year's team. De Sosa has played in Greece recently. Both of these teams needed guys who played more recently because you can tell once they get 2 or 3 games in, they're cooked. They just didn't have the legs to compete anymore.
Yeah.
So adding like Kamau Stokes, adding Xavier Sneed, KU at Mass Street, adding Frank Mason, like that's really important for these teams.
Yeah.
You can't just bring in dudes who played in 2012 anymore.
Yeah. And you want to see, like, I as interest in this tournament has grown, like you want to see those guys make a run, play in more than one game, especially if they're going to be down there in Wichita. So the atmosphere is always really good there, particularly when the aftershocks are playing. And it looks like now the television coverage for the event is going to move from ESPN to Fox FS1.
Yeah. I did not know that until today, actually.
Yeah.
There will also be a game on the Big Ten Network in the first round when Assembly Ball, the Indiana alumni team, plays the Valparaiso alumni, the Crew.
Oh, I hope Alec Peters is on that team.
A lot of the games, though, will be on TBT Live, which you have to pay for the first round, it appears.
Oh, that's trash.
So,
which was different because they used to all be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Assembly Ball is a really good team name. I always laugh at Best Virginia being the West Virginia alumni team. The Xavier alumni team is called Zip 'em Up. That is so cool.
Yeah, that kicks ass.
Also, number 1 seed in the Lexington region this year. Heard that. The Monaco alumni.
They kind of switched things around this year. There's no West Virginia regional. There has been for the past few years. So they go to Lexington, which they're closer to than Pittsburgh, where Best Virginia is.
We all have a team theoretically we could root for, like KU, Marshall. There is the D3 Ballers are back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we are D3.
We are D3. They're the 4 seed in the Dayton regional. See what school some of these kids are coming from. Wisconsin Oshkosh, Middlebury, UT Dallas, Hobart College. Hell yeah. I'm all in with these guys.
That's pretty fun. No, it's a fun tournament. It's exciting, and it's cool to see some of these guys participate again. I love that Cartier Jara is playing for the K-State alumni. That's so funny to me.
I'm surprised he would ever put on purple clothing ever again.
I agree. Never thought he would, to be honest with you. Spencer, what you got for your first headline?
We'll take it out to Manhattan. Kansas State junior shortstop Kalen Culpepper added to his impressive resume. He's been named D1 Baseball All-American second team. He's the first position player in school history to earn D1 Baseball All-America status. While he's the second Wildcat recognized in the Pete Hughes era, he's one of 7 players to represent the Big 12 Conference on the D1 Baseball All-America teams. Also now projected the 32nd overall pick in the 2024 MLB draft by Baseball American MLB Pipeline. So one of the best this season at K-State, getting recognized at the All-American level, and then he's most likely getting drafted here in the first round.
Man, he was red hot at the end of the year round. Into the postseason. He was killing
now,
the baseball.
32nd would be a first round. That's the supplemental rounds.
Oh, yeah.
So, that would be a first round selection. K-State had never had one before the Cubs took Jordan Wicks in the first round. I want to say it was 2020 or 2021.
Yes.
And Kalen Culpepper looks set to be the second first round selection out of K-State.
Very cool. Some other notes involving local college prospects. Dom Vogel from KU, freshman of the year in the Big 12. He is going to participate today in the Stars versus Stripes game for the Team USA Collegiate National Team. They're doing an inter-squad scrimmage, and he's going to participate in that. Pretty cool for some local players. Man, Culpepper was incredible. I don't watch a ton of college baseball until we get to the Big 12 tournament and beyond if our teams continue to play. I did not know Kalen Culpepper's game, and I was very impressed by what we saw from him. Next for me, a little bit of news from the NBA. We'll get to the NBA draft here in just a moment. The New York Knicks are going all in. They made a major trade last night, sending 5 first-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets to acquire Mikal Bridges. More on him in a moment. The Nets now have an unbelievable number of picks, 16 first-rounders over the next 7 years, including 4 next season, which is expected to be a much, much better draft compared to this year's, which is not good. Mikal Bridges, good player. I would even go as far as very good player. Certainly was Brooklyn's best player. He went to Villanova, just like everybody else on the Knicks.
Yeah, it's basically they're
trying to rebuild the 2016 team.
It cost them 5 first-round picks. And I think Mikal Bridges, again, he's a good NBA player. 5 first-round picks plus Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Draft picks are so minimally valued by most teams in the NBA that the NFL doesn't even allow you to trade more than 3. You're limited at 3. But if the Knicks think that, hey, in the next 2 to 3 years, we can win a championship, I get it. But you better do it.
Harnessing the power of friendship is clearly what they are trying to do here.
Yes. My Twitter this morning after this news broke was all just tweets saying they need to go get Ryan Arcidiacono. Go get our boy. Because they've got everybody else who's in the NBA from that team on that roster right now.
Why stop there? Go get every other Villanova alumni. Like Brandon Roy, I know his knees are like shredded cheese, but surely he could put on a uniform and be your 13th man. Is Mike Nardi still around?
You know Eric Paschal would pick up the phone. You know he would do that. Additionally, along with that move, the Knicks also, within the last few minutes, re-signed wing OG Anunoby, 5 years, $212.5 million. Again, OG Anunoby, good player. You better win.
Yeah.
You know how many times OG Anunoby has played more than 50 games in a season in the last 4 years?
Never.
Once. Also, he got hurt during the playoffs this last year.
That's the funny thing about Mikal Bridges. He's never missed a game. Not since he was in high school. He's played every single one since he was a prep player. Now he's going to play 47 minutes a night for Tom Thibodeau.
Yes, he is.
We will see what that ends up looking like.
Tom Thibodeau's dream is to have a roster that is as deep as the roster that Norman Dale coached in Hoosiers. Like just 6 guys. That's all he wants.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true.
The Villanova guys, OG, Julius Randle, and if they can keep him, Hartenstein. And that's it. I guess Mitchell Robinson, too.
Yeah. But it makes it easy because he's hurt.
That's true.
So it makes it easy. We don't have to play him. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, that's your NBA news. We'll get to our NBA draft preview coming up in just a moment. Anything else for you guys?
No, I think that's where we'll call it.
All right, that'll do it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, the NBA draft begins tonight. Where's Johnny Furphy going to land? We'll make our predictions after this on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio, this is 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, Day, and Spencer here with you. A little Led Zeppelin in the background, coming back from the break. It's one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs, by the way.
It's a good one.
Very good one. The NBA draft begins tonight. It's a 2-night affair for the first time. And actually, let me correct myself. It's a 2-day affair. It's prime time tonight for the first round. It starts at 3:00 Central tomorrow.
So
I
thought the whole idea of it was to treat it like it was its own big event, the second round, just like the NFL separates out the first round from the rest of the draft. But by holding it during the day on a weekday, you're actually treating it like the rest of the Major League Baseball draft, where the only people who are going to be dialed in for are the real sickos.
Shoot. Not only that, they're doing it just like the MLB draft. They're going to do day 2 from Secaucus. It's not even an event having it, because you told me
it's a conference call.
It's at Barclays tonight, right?
In Brooklyn? It's at Barclays tonight, and then it's at ESPN Seaport Studios.
Seaport, not Secaucus, excuse me. Yeah, Stephen A. is going to be sitting at his desk right next to where they're making the picks. Or what's his face? The deputy commissioner is going to be doing the picks. Mark, whatever his name is, who's done it for forever.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I don't remember
I never remember his name until we see him.
They're making it like an amateur leagues draft.
I don't think this is a good idea. People don't buy into the NBA draft like they buy into the NFL draft. More than anything, because college basketball is not nearly as popular nationwide as college football.
And because half the dudes that get drafted in the second round aren't college basketball players.
No.
They play for like the Belgrade Wingdings of the Pro Czechia League, and they score like 5 points a game, but they're 7'2" and can make an 18-foot jump shot.
Yeah. It's a strange idea by the NBA, to be frank with you. Johnny Furphy is going to be a first-round pick. I know there was some consternation. Michael Swain has been telling us this for forever. This is why we bring on smart people onto the show, because they are tapped in and they know exactly what's going on. Michael had been telling us for months, Johnny's going to be a first-round pick, and he's not going to come back to KU. Then he made it official he wasn't coming back, and it was, he needs another year. He's got to have a year to develop. And I've told you this before. I used to be that guy. I used to be, you got to come back in the best coaches, great development plans. You come back to Kansas or North Carolina or Duke or wherever. NBA teams can develop guys too. They're the pros for a reason. And
I can't wait for a certain KU guy to be like, breaking news, Johnny Furphy goes first round. We didn't think this was ever going to happen.
Had that scoop.
I had that scoop. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. Yeah. We've known this for a while. He got an invitation to the green room. He's in New York tonight. Yeah. He's going in the first round.
Most of the mock drafts I've seen have him going in the range of number 18. That's where Orlando picks. According to the final ESPN NBA mock draft, this is from their write-up. He has drawn interest from teams selecting higher than this, including Memphis, Chicago, Oklahoma City, and Sacramento, but might be more of a trade back option for those clubs.
I've said a lot of bad things about the Chicago Bulls. Just end of sentence. A lot of bad things. And I don't really like the direction the club is going. I'm buying a jersey tonight if the Bulls draft Johnny Furphy. I'll tell you that right now. I've been begging for this for years. I think that makes sense. Orlando's good. Like they
made the playoffs. I think they were the 5 seed in the East. They can't score. They have trouble scoring the basketball.
Well, that's kind of what Johnny Furphy does. That's his asset.
He would help them right away as a guy who can, they can't shoot the basketball. They don't have they don't have a lot of wings who can really shoot it from behind the arc. So yeah, it would be a good fit for him.
They kind of pound you into submission with the Wagners and with Paolo Banchero. Like that's a fun team. They're actually enjoyable. They had the best first round series when they played the Cavs, except nobody saw it because it was only on NBA TV.
Yes, that was the NBA TV series, I'm pretty certain.
24/7 Sports, they've got Furphy going 19th overall to the Toronto Raptors. That would mean Toronto would have Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji, and Johnny Furphy. Guys who combined played for Kansas for 6 years. None of them were ever teammates. I don't think that makes as much sense for Toronto, to be honest with you. They already have a bunch of dudes who shoot threes and don't really play defense. I don't think that would make a whole lot of sense. Like Johnny can. He's not a good defender, but he'll give you effort. You don't play for Bill Self and not give effort defensively.
Right.
That's probably about right. I would think late teens, probably. There's a lot to like. He's young. He's athletic. He can slash. He can shoot. I would take him in that range. Lakers at 17. I don't hate that idea, honestly. A, LeBron only ever wins championships when he has a KU player on his team. B, you want to talk about a team that needs guys who can shoot?
Yes. Playable wings.
Right now they have one. They have Austin Reeves, the most overrated player in the NBA.
By far. Thank you for saying it out loud.
Yeah, by miles and miles and miles. So I think that's about a good spot. McCullough will go tomorrow if he goes. I think he will.
In the final ESPN mock, he's at number 40 to Portland, which is as high as I've seen him. I
was seeing him like in the mid 50s.
I've also seen him I saw him in one mock draft number 30 to Boston.
Wow.
So like there's a non-zero chance he goes at the end of the draft. A lot of the teams that draft at the end of the draft, because of the way that the NBA's salary cap is now, if you're going to draft somebody in the first round, which means they get that's a guaranteed NBA contract. Can't do a two-way deal with a first-round player.
Mm-hmm.
A guaranteed NBA contract. It's harder to use those spots on developmental guys if you're in a win now mode as a franchise, which you are if you're picking late in the first round, if you're the defending champs like Boston, or if you're Denver at 28, Minnesota at 27, the Knicks at 25. It gets more appealing in those spots to draft older college players who you think are going to have less of a learning curve, who have a defined skill set that can translate into what it is that you need. And the Celtics do need some wings. Like the only wing they had off the bench this past season was in the playoffs was Sam Hauser. That was their wing off the bench. And
who was either shooting 100% on 8 tries or was unplayable.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground.
Either 8 for 10 from 3 or 0 for 8 from 3. It was not a lot of in between there. That's why you see a lot of like late in the first round, Baylor Shireman being mocked to like Minnesota or Kevin McCullough potentially being mocked to Boston, because those are guys who played a lot of basketball, older guys. The learning curve is not going to be as steep for them. So there is, I would say, a non-zero chance that McCullough hears his name called at the end of tonight, but I think it is probably more likely that he is a second-round pick. By the way, just to make my point about where second-round picks come from, in the ESPN mock, 2 of the first 5 second-round picks they project play for the same team, Ratio Farm Ulm in Germany. They must be a juggernaut.
Pacom Dadier and Juan Nunez.
Man, both of them?
Wow.
Wow.
Where's Bronny James mock to?
You'll never believe this. 55 to the Lakers.
Yeah.
I love that LeBron.
Is that a pyramid scheme? Like he was going to go to be with his dad no matter what happened?
Yeah, I love that LeBron and JJ Redick have both said like, oh yeah, LeBron had absolutely no influence over me getting hired. Okay, I wasn't born yesterday, man.
Did you hear JJ also said he won't be doing his podcast with LeBron or something?
Yeah, he said he's out of the podcast game. Coaching only.
Sounds like he's going to be in the apology tour game here pretty quick. You've been following some of the social media drama.
Yeah, not great. Who's going first?
It's probably going to be Alex Sarr.
You think over Risa Shea?
I guess. Like, they're both French. I don't know what position either of them play. Like,
they're both big.
Risa Shea is a wing. Sarr more of a post.
Yeah.
Sarr apparently turned down a workout with the Hawks, who have the number 1 pick.
Huh. Well, maybe then it will be Risa Shea.
So Sarr to the Wizards.
Well, yeah, there's the interesting thing. Like, I refuse to play for the Atlanta Hawks. Bro, you want to go play for the Washington Wizards? Like, are you sure you want to do that?
I can remember a good Hawks team in my lifetime. I remember a 50-win Hawks team in my lifetime.
What's the fact that the Wizards have never won 50 games? Is that what it is?
They haven't won 50 in your lifetime.
In my lifetime, yeah. That's
and
unbelievable.
I will say I do believe in the organization now. Like the structure now.
History would suggest that's a very silly thing to do.
It would.
You know
but
what?
They have like different guys in there now. It's not Ernie Grunfeld.
It is good to have hope.
Yeah,
and
I'm not even a Wizards fan. Like, I'm not a Wizards fan. I just think they're in a better spot than they were 3 years ago.
They're in a bad spot in this draft. They have the number 2 pick in a draft with 0 potential superstars.
Yes.
Reed Shepherd is predicted to go 3rd.
I like Reed Shepherd.
I do too. I don't like him 3rd.
Yeah, this is a great draft if you're looking for like role players. Like if you're in the middle to late portion of this draft, you're thinking, hell yeah, we can scoop up a guy who fits into our rotation right away.
Yeah.
But if you're drafting at the top of this draft, like you're trying to talk yourself into Jacoby Walter, who doesn't guard anybody, or Zach Edey. Can you imagine if the Lakers took Zach Edey at 17? That is the mocked pick by ESPN.
My one of my close friends, I brought up my friend Mike on the show before. We went to high school together. We went to KU together, did radio for a long time. Biggest Bulls fan I know. He tweeted earlier today, I have rec league basketball tonight during the draft, so just read this when we have the pick. Wow, he's going to be so good. Absolute steal for the Bulls, getting blank at 11. We are so back. Unless it's Zach Edey, in which case read this. I'm a kill myself. So, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I'd rather have Klingon than have Edey. I think Klingon's a better athlete.
Oh, yeah. Klingon will go well before Edey.
He might go top 5.
Klingon's projected top 10 pick in any mock you'll find.
Next year's draft is supposed to be a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg is better than any of these dudes.
It can't be less entertaining.
That's true.
When's the last time a player from Colorado went in the top 10?
They're going to get 3 guys drafted.
For a team that missed the tournament.
Almost.
Oh, that's right. They played Florida?
Yeah, they beat Florida.
That's right.
They were I think they were in a Dayton game. They won a Dayton game. They barely made the tournament. Yeah, last season, not a great one for the Tad Boyle is a sneaky good coach agenda. That was does Tad Boyle know what he's doing?
Yeah, that was tough.
Like, he had a lottery pick and another guy who's going to go first round tonight, possibly, in Tristan Da Silva, and another guy who's going to get drafted in the second round, KJ Simpson, and they barely made the tournament in the Pac-12.
They finished 3rd in the Pac-12. Yikes. Coming up next, we've got some more thoughts on the Royals winning a series as of earlier today, and they will take on the Guardians later this week. We'll get you ready for that here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. The Royals won today. They're back. They won a series.
They won the series against the Marlins, which was
so back.
Absolute must. Had to do it. How they went about it wasn't super comforting or fun, but they did.
No. Awesome series for the starting pitching. I know the Marlins are but man, Reagan's was great. Lugo was phenomenal yesterday. It was wasted, of course, because Carlos Hernandez came in and immediately gave up the game. And today, Brady Singer didn't even have to tightrope the way he has tightroped for most of the season. He just dominated. After the second inning, the third inning, when they scored their run?
Second inning.
They weren't even competitive after that.
No.
He really settled in and just mowed them down. He was great.
What you would hope and expect that starting rotation would do against a lineup as putrid as Miami's. We talked about Miami coming in at 2 above-average hitters in their everyday lineup, and those were the only guys who hurt Reagan's on Monday, and nobody else really did anything of note. Like Josh Bell hit some balls hard. He hit 4 balls hard today, and none of them amounted to anything.
Yeah,
it's kind of a bummer for Josh Bell, but no, that's what you would expect from the starting pitching. The fact that this was only a series win and not a sweep points to the ongoing issues that the offense had. But I'll tell you what, the big inning has a way of getting you going in the right direction. The dam burst for the Royals with that 5-run 8th. And you hope that momentum can carry over into this Cleveland series, because just like it was when they went to Cleveland at the beginning of this month, this now becomes the biggest series of the season for the Royals. They're starting to lose ground. Cleveland hasn't played great lately over the last couple of weeks, but they're still Kansas City's losing a lot of ground in that Central Division race. They want to hang around in it. They got to throw a big punch this weekend at the K.
Yeah, they're 10 games back of the Guardians.
Yeah, you're going to need to take this series if you still want that to be in the cards. And look, we might get 3 weeks from now and it might not be in the cards anymore. And if that's the case, so be it. But you might as well make a run while you have a chance, and this is going to be your last chance at that.
4 games at home. You're coming off of a series win. You're coming off of maybe a momentum generator. You've got a steady veteran to start the series in Michael Wacha. Go get it. This is a point, and I felt too that the reason this rally maybe meant more than just a rally to beat the Marlins on a Wednesday afternoon was because it was Salvador Perez, who's been in such a deep funk, who the at-bat before his at-bat in the 8th had one of the worst at-bats you'll ever see from a guy like Salvador Perez.
Oh, my God, it was terrible.
Just absolutely gross. For him to drive in the go-ahead run, I think that meant something, because the Royals are a young team. They don't have a ton of veteran presence in that lineup. Salvy's it. He's the guy with the C on his chest. But he's not necessarily going to be that vocal leader. He's not going to give that Raul Ibanez speech, right? That's famous for inspiring the 2014 pennant winners.
Yeah.
Salvy doesn't have that. Salvy leads by example. If Salvy is playing well and playing with joy and playing with fire, that inspires the Royals. So if today gets Salvador Perez going, if him delivering in a big spot to rescue a series and rescue a game is something that inspires the rest of the team, that means it can be even more meaningful than just a win on a Wednesday.
On an even more macro level, I think it was valuable that in that 8th inning, Witt, Pasquantino, and Salvy all had hits.
Yes, because they've all struggled mightily.
Yeah. Bobby Witt, you and I were talking about it during the game. He's over the last few days taken some at-bats that just do not look like the all-star, all-MLB caliber player that we know he is and he's been all year. I mean, they were gross. They were really, really ugly. Same with Salvy. That second to last one he had today was horrendous. It looked like pre-2024 Salvy, where he would just swing at anything, no matter where you threw it. So it was good to see those guys come through. Good for the Royals to get a win ahead of a major series coming up over the next 4 days with the Cleveland Guardians. We'll talk more about that series coming up tomorrow. We'll talk a little Johnny Furphy, Kevin McCullough tomorrow. Rick Peterson is going to join us. We'll have a busy day tomorrow from 2 to 6 here on 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we have one final commercial break to get to. Then we'll wrap things up with the final word live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. All right, let's wrap it up with a final word on this shortened edition of the show. Spencer Dupuis, you are up first for the final word.
Yeah, I'm not a big NBA fan. We've discussed this. I'm a more college hoops guy. That's the more that I'll watch on TV.
Our kind of guy.
Yeah, then I'll watch the NBA. Clearly, our kind of guy. There's not NBA teams around here, but I don't understand what the NBA is doing. I thought they were going to go 2 nights. I was like, that'd be cool. Put them on ABC 2 nights. The guys in the second round that might be in the G League, go 2 ways, might get their chance to be on ABC, on ESPN. No, they flopped. They're making this an afternoon affair. What is this? Like the MLS Junior League draft?
Got him.
That's my final word.
They're replacing Around the Horn for one day with this. Right. You couldn't have done better than that.
That's wild. Speaking of the NBA draft, my final word today, I want to wish everybody a happy 10th anniversary to a transformative day in my life when, during the second round of the NBA draft, during a commercial for the Taco Bell quesarito, the Denver Nuggets selected Nikola Jokic and made my life immeasurably better as a result. Happy 10th anniversary to Nikola Jokic quesarito day.
Man, I missed the quesarito.
Who knew?
What a great menu item.
Who knew that 10 years later, the quesarito would no longer exist, but Nikola Jokic would have 3 MVPs
and the cheese
and a championship.
The Cheez-It exists. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I need to get one.
Hard
so good. A final word for me today. Royals needed to win this one. You could not. There's just no way this team, with all they're hoping to accomplish this year, could have gone into a pivotal series with the Guardians the rest of this week and weekend, coming off of a series lost to the Miami Marlins. Looked ugly for 8 innings today. Thankfully, they come through. Hopefully, that means a lot of positivity heading into the Guardians series. We'll talk about that series. We'll talk about the Shawnee County Sports Banquet, which is going on in just a few moments downtown with Rick Peterson tomorrow. Talk NFL, college football. It's all coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk. For Dan Lucero, for Spencer Dupuis, I'm Brendan Brzezinski. We'll talk to you then back here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW.